There we go. I think we all just got that little reminder that recording is on. So just if you want to, keep your camera off, that's fine. But we'll be pinning speakers as they talk. So, hi, I'm Eleanor from West Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District. Thanks so much for your interest and for showing up tonight and making the time. We'll just go ahead and get started because we definitely want to make sure there's plenty of time for Q&As. But we're going to start out with a few speakers from various SWCD boards to talk about their experiences and what kind of you give and what you get from being on an SWCD board. So first off is West Multnomah's board chair, Terry Pre-Grigsby. Take it away, Terry.
All right, thanks, Eleanor, for organizing this and working with our colleagues to get everyone here. And thanks everyone who is logging on now or is watching afterwards. I am not going to be able to stay for the entire session, so I apologize in advance that I'll need to log off before we're done. But I appreciate the opportunity to chat with all of you. So as Eleanor said, I'm board chair of West Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District. I have been on the board for over 17 years and started as an associate director. And so soil and water conservation districts are what we call a special district. So we are a public entity and a non-regulatory like government agency that uses public dollars, whether those come from the state or the federal government through our Department of Agriculture, or some of our districts also collect property taxes. And West Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District is one of those. And generally, soil and water conservation districts were developed during the Dust Bowl, and they were to keep agricultural land from blowing away in the dust. So we wanted to make sure that there was adequate water and healthy soils. So we primarily originally for agriculture, and that is still our goal. There are soil and water conservation districts across all of the United States as well as U.S. territories, and we are focused on water quality and quantity and soil health for agricultural production, carbon sequestration, stormwater management in urban areas, and a whole host of other conservation practices. So one thing that was unique about Oregon is that we had a rule on in state statutes that required district directors that were zone directors. That means that you were responsible for a specific geographic area rather than an at-large area, that in order to be eligible to run for office as a zone director, you had to own or manage 10 or more acres of land. And while I'm a zone director, I was appointed to be that after I had served in a non-voting capacity for 2 years. And so now I am a zone director because I was able to come in that way. But several of us thought that it wasn't fair to keep these public agencies that use public dollars, especially in our urban areas where very few people can own 10 or more acres. We thought that was no longer a relevant law to have on our statutes. And my particular district is in Southwest Portland, and the only owners of properties that large are Lewis and Clark College, Portland State University, Oregon Health and Science University. So that really wasn't an option. So several folks, built a coalition last year and worked with legislators, both on the House Senate and State Senate and State House in Salem, and had Senate Bill 775 successfully passed. And that removed the requirement that zone directors own or manage 10 or more acres in counties of a population of 250,000 people or more. So, so in less populated counties, that rule is still in place, and so in more populated counties, such as our own, in Multnomah County, Clackamas, Washington County, Lane, and Marion. I think I'm getting those correct. Those are the 5 counties that were impacted by this change. And so now, for the first time in the history of soil and water conservation districts in Oregon, in these 5 states, anyone who lives in a zone, everyone lives in a zone because our whole state is covered in by our soil and water conservation districts. But if you live in one of these counties, you can run for a zone director. And so some folks might ask, well, if soil and water conservation districts were originally established to work with the agriculture community, why would you, in such an urban area, be interested in even serving? And that's a great question, but really the intent is to uh, is to have conservation practices on every acre for every person um, throughout the country, and that applies to my district as well, which is urban. So I started out by volunteering with a local watershed council, and I got really involved in riparian restoration and salmon habitat restoration, as well as stormwater management um, tools using um, good conservation tools to also help us manage stormwater so that we could slow down stormwater so that it would be able to absorb into the earth, refill, get down to the water table. It would be cool and clean once it got out to our streams and then eventually to the Willamette River. And it would be healthy for salmonid species. And so that's salmon. And then, we were also looking at lamprey. And I began working with our soil and water conservation district, which was West Multnomah, and I realized the value of partnerships and working together because we are more powerful when we work together. And our soil and water conservation districts are staffed by amazing people, like scientists who are out on the lands. They specialize in urban conservation and rural conservation, forestry, stream health, invasive species, non-native species, specialties. So we just have all of these amazing scientists and skill sets amongst our staff. And working with a soil and water conservation district allows us to engage with folks that may not have ever considered implementing conservation practices, whether they have a large farm or a backyard habitat or a community garden, a school garden. There are just so many different ways that soil and water conservation districts can and do and will work with the community. So that's what brought me to work to volunteer my time at West Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District, and it's been a really fulfilling journey. And I've learned so much and been able to really engage with my neighbors and learn from colleagues all across the state and, in fact, across the country. And I encourage folks to really consider running for this and serving the community in this way. So I think that that's my time. And I'm not sure if there are any questions maybe in the chat. Oh, I see that if you do have questions, put them into the chat. But I don't see any for me. So I will mute myself. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to share my experience and a little bit of backgrounds. So thank you.
Thanks, Terry. That was great. Yes, we will have plenty of time for questions at the end, which is why we have a little bit of a tight schedule. We just want to make sure there's plenty of time at the end for questions. So next up, Jasmine Zimmerstucky from the East Multnomah Board is going to introduce herself and talk about the roles and responsibilities of being a SWCD director.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, everyone. It's amazing to see so many people. I think that this is a real testament to the importance of Senate Bill 755 and removing some of the restrictions that were prohibiting people who care deeply about soil and water, who live in urban counties, from running for office. So thank you. As a testament, your presence here is a testament to the hard work of many people. Sorry, my phone's just going off. So I'm going to speak briefly about the roles and responsibilities of being on the Soil and Water Conservation District, and then I'll talk a little more about why I chose to run. If you take, nothing away except this, I would say if you're wondering about what the roles and responsibilities of being a district director is, it is look on the Oregon Department of Agriculture website. There's a guidebook for you, and Chapter 3 has everything you need to know. I think I see Sandy, and I bet Eric could link to it in the chat, or someone can put it in. I encourage you to read it a few times just to make sure that what the responsibilities are really resonating with you. But if I was going to sum it up, I would say, the board's responsibility at a big picture level is to provide high-level guidance and decision-making for your district through processes like annual and long-range planning and crafting and approving the budget. Big picture stuff. Decisions are made by a majority vote, though even minority voices do make an impact. It's really important that board members keep the mission of the district, the strategic plan, and other guiding documents in mind at all times when considering plans and proposals that come before the staff, to make sure that all programs are staying within the strategic plan and serving the mission. I'll say a challenge for me is that and I think some people who run for boards is we're natural doers. We just want to get in and dive into programs and but it's not necessarily the role of the board member to do the work. The board, we need to stay at a high level. We need to let the executive director or the district manager direct the staff as they work to execute the plans that are set by the board. So that's something that I think you should really keep in mind as you're thinking about whether board service is right for you. And a little bit about why I ran for the board. I'm serving my second term at the East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District. This is my second year as board chair. I serve in an at-large position. So because I don't own or manage 10 acres of land, I own and manage 2 acres of land. So I didn't qualify. I work in the natural resource conservation sector. I live in a rural area in East Multnomah County. I have a hobby blueberry farm. I serve as a lieutenant in my volunteer fire department, and my husband works a very blue collar job. So I think that one of the reasons that I was motivated to run for the district position is because I really sit in a lot of that urban rural world and try and bridge that divide that I think the East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District does so well. So prior to deciding whether it was right for me, I attended a few board meetings. I read through, a year plus worth of minutes to make sure that I understood what the board really did and who I would be serving alongside. And through this, I was able to confirm that I really did care a lot about what the district was doing. It's important because most of the work of a district director is administrative. So it's really important that you know that you care about the work, because it's a lot of, you're not out in the field doing a lot of work. It's meetings, it's approving agendas, it's crafting policies, it's work sessions, diving into topics. So without a deep care for and passion for soil and water health, the commitment to the district's mission, the meetings, the budgets, the planning, all of that could be challenging. but I can see the big picture of how sitting through, you know, a few meetings a month does fit into the larger scale of soil and water health, you know, combating climate change and advancing equity. And I think, you know, one of the reasons that I do care so much about soil and water health is because I think that, you know, tackling, you know, climate change can be done through soil and water health. And, you know, we need everything from farms and forests to backyards to be managed from a soil and water health perspective if we're going to achieve climate goals, you know, and farm through things like the next heat dome. And I also think that, you know, for me, it's important to recognize that there's many paths to achieve climate resiliency. And I support the non-regulatory approach of the Soil and Water Conservation District. It's nice to not have that, you know, regulatory angle when we work with individual property owners. And I think it's important that we incorporate equity into the work that the East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation does, you know, to execute our mission. So that's a little about why I chose to run and my background, and I'll answer some questions when it's time.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, feel free, anybody, you can put your questions in the chat, or if you'd rather say them out loud, we will have time for that at about 6:40. Yeah, so next up we have Al Hernishin. I hope I'm saying that right. I should have checked with you before this.
Good job. Yes,
Oh, great.
You get your star for the day. So
Oh, perfect. From Upper Willamette in Lane County. So Al is going to talk about the benefits of service on the SWCD board and also what drew you to the position.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good job, everyone, so far. And it's good to see so many people here showing an interest in serving on a conservation district board. This is it's a hugely important job. And the way I got started, I'm not originally from Oregon. I have no real background in conservation, but the property that we live on was the recipient of a CREP project about the time we were moving here, stream restoration project that involved improving stream flow for fish passage and habitat. And the board that I'm sitting on now, the Upper Willamette, they had someone, a zone director, drop off. And because I was recently retired and didn't have a whole lot going on, they asked if I would be willing to serve, to fill in for a couple of years on the board. And I got myself involved, and it turned out that I really, really liked what I did. It was fascinating for me to learn, number one, just conservation principles in general. It was a great way to get to know people, being a recent move here to Oregon. I've learned a lot about not only the state, but just, you know, how conservation is operated and business practices in general. And so after the first 2 years, I was up for election. And so I ran, and then I liked it so much I ran again. So I'm now on my 8th year on the board, in the middle of my 2nd term. And I am so glad I have done this. For me, the benefits have been very much personal in seeing, you know, I have a real love and an interest of seeing our ecosystems maintain their health. And I now see that working to provide clean water and healthy soil for everybody, not just people, but everything in our ecosystem is directly affected by the kinds of things that we do. And my approach is a little bit different, not being trained in conservation or a field like that. How about a twist on democracy? I look at public service as my role in trying to maintain a healthy democracy that we live in. And any democratic and that small d society relies on the input and the volunteer efforts of its citizens. And the more citizens are involved in the democratic process, the healthier our society is going to be. And so I understand that clean water and healthy soil are 2 of the 3 things that all living things need. And we directly provide the services that keep our water clean. We directly provide the services that lead to healthy soils. And indirectly, we affect healthy air as well, healthy air quality. So we cover everything. And to be able to do that and see that by my actions here, such as they are, I'm able to help maintain a government and a society that's managed by the people, for the people. And I get a great deal of satisfaction out of that. And one of my goals is to, I was always one that kind of bagged on the government. It's like, well, what are they up to? And they don't really serve my needs. And no one's listening to me. I'm a little guy. Who cares about me? Well, I'm able to turn that around. And what one of my goals of board service is to show that effective government really starts at the very bottom levels. We're one of the lowest rungs of government. And everyone thinks that, well, that doesn't sound good. No, it's great. This is where the action happens. And by concerned citizens getting involved and being willing to donate some time and some brain power and really try to make a difference in the world around us, I think we're the ones that actually do that. And so I'm very proud of the service that I do, not only from the conservation point of view, but every time I do something district related, I have a little bit of satisfaction that, yeah, I'm helping to make the state of Oregon, the county of Lane, my little neighborhood I live in, heck, the whole United States, I'm making it a little bit better place for all of us. And to me, that's a hugely important role that I think sometimes gets overlooked. And it's easy to look at the science behind everything, but just making things better for all of us is a goal that I have. And I feel like conservation work helps get that done.
Great. Thank you, Al.
How's that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it was. Yeah, very good to hear your perspective on that. Yeah, so I think next up we have Lisa from Clackamas SWCD has a presentation that addresses somewhat of what Nikki asked in the chat, how to run for an elected position. And this is a specific elected position. This isn't about every elected position, but this will talk about the different steps to take to run for SWCD board, specifically in these 5 counties. You ready, Lisa? You are still muted. Oh, and we're also going to have a couple board or district managers chime in and read their slides. So you can kind of get to meet the folks that you might work with as a board member. Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay. Thanks, Eleanor. Now for the moment everyone's been waiting for. You've heard how great it is to be a board member. This is how you start the process. So to get the packet, to find out what you need to do, get your forms, you need to Google Oregon Department of Agriculture. Once you get there, you'll see 4 boxes. The box with the people looking at the stream, it says land and water. At the very bottom, it says soil and water conservation districts. Click on that one. Once you get there, you'll have another one that says about SWCDs. And on the left-hand side is a gray column. If you go down to elections under soil and water conservation districts, click on that, you'll come up with a select candidate packet. It says alert on there. Under the first couple of paragraphs, it will say 2024 candidate packet for SWCD elections. Comes in English and in Spanish. Click on that. Okay, next. All right, come on. Go to the next one. There we go. So, dates to remember. Once you get your packet, you will find there's 2 forms you're going to really want to pay attention to. The first one is the petition form. You need to ask or get signatures from at least 10 registered voters in your county to fill out the form, and then you need to take that form to your county elections office. They will verify that the people who've signed your forms are actually voters. And then once they do that, you need to get that back from them because they will not send that to ODA, Oregon Department of Agriculture. You can go ahead and get started on this right away. That gives you a little extra time, but you cannot submit that form plus the other candidate form. It's called the candidate petition for nomination. No, that's a signature sheet. The candidate declaration of candidacy, sorry. That's the form. That one and the petition form are submitted to Oregon Department of Agriculture, but don't submit it until July 18th. Anytime between the 18th of July and August 27th at 5 p.m. They will accept those, and then you will be set to be on the ballot. Let's try the next one. Or if you really wanted to, you could just hit this QR code on the screen, and that will take you directly to the Oregon Department of Agriculture. It'll look like this, the blue with the white, the 2024 candidate packet. Next. So I'm in Clackamas Soil and Water Conservation District. Our board meetings are held the third Tuesday of every month. It is both in person and virtual. You can always get the link to get to the virtual meeting if you go onto our website and our calendar. This fall, we have 3 board positions open. We have Zone 2, which represents Oregon City, Lake Oswego, Milwaukee, and Clackamas County urban interface, rural interface. Zone 3 is representing Canby, Beaver Creek, and the surrounding areas. And then we have 1 at-large position, and that one represents the entire county. So if you're interested, please get your packet and get your forms in. Next will be West Multnomah.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lynn Barlow. I'm District Manager with West Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District. As you can see from the map, our district extends from the Willamette River west through the rest of Multnomah County that extends west of the Willamette River. We're not a very large district, but we're rather diverse, and we include much urban area, as our board chair, Terry Pre-Grigsby, already described. We also include a significant agricultural area in Sauvie Island, and then a significant forested area of the Tualatin Mountains that extend even beyond Multnomah County. So we have a diversity in our small district, and we meet let's see, the 3rd Tuesday of every month, and most of our meetings are actually virtual. We meet in person twice a year, once in the summer, once in the winter, but most of our meetings are very accessible and virtual. The positions that are open for election this year, there are 4. Zone 1 and Zone 2, which are all of Sauvie Island is represented by Zone 1 and Zone 2. Zone 2, you can see, extends across Multnomah County into the Tualatin Mountains a bit. Zone 3 is in the Tualatin Mountains. And then we also have an at-large director position open, which would be representative of the entire district area. And so please do check out our website. If you're in our district, note that you can type in your zip code on our website to determine exactly what zone you're in and whether or not you'd be able to run for office in that zone. Thank you.
There's the unmute. Good evening, y'all. My name is Kelly Beamer, and I'm the Executive Director here at East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District. Just want to offer gratitude for you all to take time to join us this evening. A little bit about our district, as you can see from the map there, we're sort of hugged by our 2 major river systems, our Columbia River to the north and Willamette to the west. And our district is all of Multnomah County there to the east of the Willamette River. And as you can see, our work truly spans across urban and rural lands. Demographically, we are the most diverse district in terms of communities, ethnicities, and languages. And our district is divided into 3 zones, as you can see from the map there. Zone 1 and 2 are open for elections, as well as an at-large position. Similar to Lynn, please visit our website for more clarity, and also feel free to call our front desk 503-222 soil. I just learned 7645. But also, you know, our board meetings are open to the public. They're in person. Our office is on the corner in North Portland, in the Albina neighborhood on Killingsworth and Williams area. And the board meetings are the first Mondays of the month, again, open to the public. And we would love to hear from you if you have any questions. So thanks.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's so exciting to see everybody here tonight. I'm Brenda Sanchez. I'm the district manager for the Soil and Water Conservation District here. And we're located, our facility is located in Staten, on your way out of Salem toward the Detroit Lakes upper North Santiam River watershed. We have 5 zones, and Marion County is quite a unique county. We have, I think, the most diverse agricultural outputs of the state. We also have large, we're the capital, Salem's here in our district, so we have a large urban center, and the county is dotted with small little urban cities and stuff throughout. So we have done a lot of work here at the district, also to expand our outreach and getting to try and work with all the many diverse communities we have here in Marion County. We deal with as you can see, our eastern boundary goes up into the North Santiam. We have some of the most pristine waterways and essential salmon habitat. And our urban centers, we have some really awesome parks, and we work really hard together to try to bring everybody to work toward our mission of conserving our natural resources. We meet once a month, every the first Wednesday of the month. We welcome you anytime to join us. We link everything on our website and go to our events calendar, and our board meetings are listed on there. We also have committee meetings. You're welcome to come join us on those if you like. Very business-wise meetings, but we do all kinds of things, and we talk about all different stuff. We also post our minutes, so if you're interested in some of the history and what some of the work has been of our past, it's there. And you can reach out to any one of us and come join us. I would like to add, I did run for district director and was elected back in 2020. The process may seem a little daunting, but it's really not. The challenges is writing your pamphlet, your pamphlet insert, and I recommend that. And getting the petition signature. That was, I had to find 10 registered vote. Actually, you should get a little more in case they don't accept some of those signatures. I think I had 18. So that was probably the most difficult part of the process. And then once you're in, it's really exciting to watch the election night and see where you stand and look at the website. And so I recommend anyone to get involved with their local district. Thank you.
Hi, folks. I'm Dave Downing. I'm the district manager with the Upper Willamette Soil and Water Conservation District. We're located in Lane County. Our district is about 1.9 million acres in size. A lot of it is in federal lands to our eastern boundary. We have 5 zones and 2 at large. And right now we will be having 3 different zones coming up for our election process. I appreciate everybody who is showing up, even from Lane County as well, because we're kind of separated from our northern partners. But we are working towards establishing our programs. We just received a tax-based funding structure in 2020, but started receiving funds in 2021. And so we're really trying to grow, and we're going through a transition, and it would be great to have new and diverse ideas and thinking involved in our board. We are primarily based, our urban center is Eugene and Springfield, with about a constituency of 350,000 people. And then we have our urban centers running down south to the I-5 corridor with Cresswell, Cottage Grove. We have Junction City to the north. And so we have a diverse amount of agricultural areas within our zones. And so I think it's great that we could have this forum to be able to explain a little bit about our districts and what we do. We are highly involved in soil health. We have a very strong partnership network within our district that we work with a lot of different conservation entities. And so we just want to build on that and continue to grow our district and to be better stewards of the land.
Thank you, everyone who spoke in that presentation, as well as Lisa for doing a great job at going through the steps of filling out those forms. I'm going to try to, we're at the Q&A session now, so I'm going to try to go through the chat in order of questions answered and or questions asked, and try to direct to the right person. But if I'm not directing to the right person, please, district managers and ODA people that we have here, please chime in. I think Elisa asked a question that Terry answered in the chat, followed by Bonnie asked, what skills would help the board the most? I feel like that's a big question. On our blog about this, we say that we would love to have a board that has the expertise of many fields, a variety of fields of living or of professional or lived experience, like community organizing, outreach, education, financial management, business, human resources, public service, agriculture, environmental services, and more. But I feel like that's also kind of very, very broad. So if anyone else has a thought on that, Jasmine, go for it.
Yeah, thanks. Jasmine, Board Chair of East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District again. Great skills, those are great, career skills to bring to the table. I think from a more kind of personal standpoint, it's really important that you are a collaborative person. I work with one of 5 board members. That's my team, and I didn't get to pick my team. You pick my team, the voters do. So you really need to approach every situation with a very collaborative spirit, and a healthy dose of, humility and resilience and personal resiliency in those, because you don't pick your team, which is a beautiful part of democracy, to Al's point. Patience is really important. It really does take time. Just like it took soil, tens of thousands of years or millions of years to get, to what it is today. Change takes time. So coming in, and expecting that, in the next fiscal year, your big mega project that you think is wonderful is going to be enacted, might not yield the results that you want. And then just a note that, you have to be, to be responsible. You're an elected official. The things you say in meetings are public. It's a public meeting. Your email is subject to public records requests. Whether you you walk out on the street and you talk to your neighbor and you tell your neighbor that you're on the board of a soil and water conservation district, you informally represent the district. So it is kind of an extra level of scrutiny that is worth considering. It's worth it for me. I just want to make sure it's worth it for everyone. And also at a practical level, it's a ton of meetings. So you really do need to make sure that your schedule can prioritize these monthly meetings that are all of our district managers and directors were talking about, in addition to committee meetings and budget meetings. And if you go through a hiring process for an executive director, that's 20 extra meetings in a 4-month period. So not to scare you away, but there are some practical things that I want to bring to the beautiful world of soil and water conservation districts.
Thank you, Jasmine. And you can tell that Jasmine recently went through a hiring process for a new executive director for East Multnomah. I just want to keep moving on questions. Cami asked, how do board members engage in recruiting other landowners to engage in conservation? Maybe it would make sense for board member, I guess, Al, do you have anything to say about that? Or perhaps one of our district managers could chime in on that? Al, you are muted.
Okay, yeah, let me unmute myself. Okay, you know, I'm not really sure. I talk to my neighbors, I talk to other people that I have a chance to, and try to, you know, whenever I hear people say, oh, well, you know, I don't like this or I don't like this, and it's like, well, have you considered working with our conservation district to achieve these results? But I don't know that I, as a board member, have a whole lot of good ideas on that. Other than, I think the thing I work on a lot is just getting our name out there. That's one of the things that kind of struck me about the conservation district is when we went for our tax base back in 2020, I thought that would be the magic key. I always wondered, well, why doesn't anyone come to our board meetings? No one seems to know who we are. Does no one care? And it's not really like that. No, I don't know why people don't show up, but people do care. And trying to get people engaged and involved if they have issues on their property. It seems to me, and maybe even Dave could back me up a little bit on this, it seems like it's been mostly our field staff that's had the best success because they're out there, they're the people out there dealing with the public in an official capacity day in and day out. And just from my recollection, it seems like a lot of our work in engaging landowners has been in conjunction with something else that's been going on, and then a neighboring landowner gets to meet our tech person that's on the ground. So maybe, I don't know if that's true in other districts or not. So, but one interesting thing to keep in mind though is that we do serve the public and we serve everybody, and that's why it's so important to understand who your constituency is and understand what their needs are. You know, when you're a 501, you sort of are at the mercy of who funds you. Whatever your membership says they want their donations to go to, that's pretty much what you have to do. But as a conservation district that's publicly funded, we serve everybody. We serve everybody whether they like us or hate us or whether they don't like paying taxes to us or not. That doesn't matter. We take all comers and trying to find those people in those areas that need our services, because we're not regulatory. We can't just go to someone and say, we are going to come and fix your problem. That's not what we do. They have to come to us and engage with us. And that makes it a little bit tougher, I think. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough answer. And how do you get people to understand who you are and what you're all about? And we're engaged in a big public outreach program with, you know, we have a public outreach director, a person who does our media type stuff, and they're involved all the time. We table at events to try to get the name out, and hopefully slowly those attract people. But I don't know if there is one magic bullet that just, you know, sprinkle pixie dust out there and everyone comes running to you. If that's out there, I haven't found it yet.
Yeah, thanks, Al. It looks like Brenda might have something to chime in on that. We do have quite a few questions, so I just want to make sure.
I just wanted to add that at our district, we have an education and outreach committee. Heath Kierstead is here. And we have two directors that are on that committee. And so as a director, you can help when in a committee, help details and bring your ideas further in. So there is opportunities with many of these districts to do it, engage that way.
That's a good point. Thank you, Brenda. Okay. Fran asked, how does the board collaborate with other local, state, federal agencies or organizations? I feel like one of our district managers might have something to say about that. Maybe Kelly's looking for the unmute. There we go.
Yeah, I think it's a really dynamic position to be nested in the, you know, we're a local unit of government, but we're nested you know, in shared geography with our city, with Metro, on up. We were just in a town hall that Congressman Blumenauer hosted, some folks in here as well. So we're in a moment of time where I think it's all about leverage, and the call to action to address equity and climate is about scaling up and partnering. So there, at least in our district, I think there's a lot of opportunities, and the work that we do is definitely connected and leveraged by other government entities. So I hope that I answered that.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Okay, I think we hopefully answered Nikki's question about speaking to the election process. We all have the election packet on our websites. These slides will be available. Scrolling through the questions. Once candidacy opens, is there a way to see who is running for each zone or seat? I don't know, but we do have Sandy and Eric from the Department of Agriculture here. Do you guys provide something like that?
Actually, after it closes, I send all the information to the county clerks on who is eligible. So the county clerks are actually the ones who disperse that information, and it goes in on the ballot. The only thing that isn't as transparent is if no one files for a position, then on the 28th of August, those positions are up for write-in candidates, and those go up just like 10 days before the election. So those are all filed, and so those are not listed. But the ones who are on the ballots, which is the best way to do it because it's more transparent, are listed on the ballot. And some of the nominees that are listed on the ballot choose to put information in the voters pamphlet if they have them in their local county, and so that's an opportunity for them to tell about the district and about themselves also.
Great, thank you, Sandy. So it sounds like there's not a way to tell between the filing start and the filing deadline, but after the filing deadline, the ballot will be available, or you'll know who's on the ballot. Do the 10 registered voters need to be within the zone you're hoping to run for, or just the district as a whole? Also sounds like a question for Sandy.
Yes, that is correct. Yes, they anywhere within the boundaries of your district, they do not need to be in any specific zone.
Great, thank you. Okay, what is the difference between running for a zone versus running for a director at large? I guess like in general, like the zone that you're running for, like may or may not be up for election. Like if you live in zone 5 in West Multnomah, that's not up for election this year, but you could run as an at-large director because if you live within the district as a whole. So you technically would represent the district as a whole. I don't know if there's anyone else who is thinking of it in another way that could answer it another way.
I can also answer that.
Oh, go for it.
The board makes decisions for the whole district. So the at-large are just 2 positions, and the only difference is they don't have to live in a specific zone. So that is for your 5 counties. For the other ones, zone directors have the land management requirement, but for what we're talking about tonight, that is the only difference. Great,
thank you. I was trying to see if there's any quick questions in here.
You have somebody that has their hands raised.
Yeah, Lisa, go for it. Lisa Morrison, do you want to unmute and ask a question?
Oh, thank you. This may not be true for soil and water, but for other filed candidates, their names can be seen. I'm sorry, I can't remember if it's on the Multnomah County, or the county elections websites or the Secretary of State. But for many candidate filings, one does not have to wait until the ballot is produced to see who's running. So it's worth looking into that.
Okay, thanks. Al, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I do. I want to go back to something Kelly brought up about, she mentioned the word collaboration and collaborative efforts. And that's another thing that's very unique about what we do. We do not operate in a vacuum. And if you read ORS 568.225, my favorite governmental passage, that's the Oregon statute that sort of defines what a conservation district is and what our mission is and how we go about doing it. And it specifically mentions that we work in collaborative relationships. And it doesn't mean that everything's collaborative, but they should be when possible. And speaking for what we do in the Upper Willamette and Lane County, we are part of a larger group called the Upper Willamette Stewardship Network, and it's comprised of us, but then also several of the major watershed councils and one of the river trust groups that, if you know much about Lane County, you'd recognize their names. And they're our major partners in the projects that we take on. And what's cool about that is, number one, it gets more groups involved and you can share the workload and that sort of thing and funding and all that. But those are the people that get all the press. They're the ones that are out there all the time. Because if you're a 501, everything is about raising money and getting your name out there. And one of the nice things about having a tax base is that we don't have to worry so much about the fundraising part. It's great for leveraging, but we have our basic needs met. And what we're able to do is we're able to work with these different groups to get these projects done. And 501s have access and they can bring things to the tables that we can't. And we have access to programs and funding and things that 501s don't have. And it's when you bring those collaborative groups together to get together and complete these projects, that's really when good things start to happen. And you're probably going to find that more people know about your local watershed council, and because they've seen their name a lot more than they know about their local conservation district. And that's okay. It doesn't matter who gets the credit. It's the work getting done that's what's really important. So yeah, collaborative efforts are hugely important to not only our success, but to the success of our partners as well. So it's an essential part of how we do business.
Thanks, Al. There was another question that's kind of for you. Are you running for re-election? If so, why or why not? Feel free to answer or not. But Jasmine and Terry's positions are both not up for re-election this cycle, so I don't know if yours is.
No.
Yours isn't either. Okay.
No, mine isn't either, but I have some thoughts on that.
Wait. Can I pose one more?
Yes, you sure may.
Kat also asked, what have you found most difficult or frustrating during your time on the board? We do only have about 5 minutes left. I'm happy to stay on a few more minutes to answer, more admin type questions. But yeah, while we have a couple board members, do you have anything to add about those questions?
No, I'm not up for re-election either. But after my term will be up in 2 years in 26, and I'm not running for re-election. I'm going to end my public service, and the reason why, it's not because I'm dissatisfied or anything like that, but I feel that every citizen should have a right to serve on something public, and I've done my time. I'm a believer in term limits, especially for me. And I'm willing to step aside and give someone else a shot, because it's important that every citizen be as involved as possible. And so I've done what I'm going to do, and it's time to turn it over to another citizen that can do just as good, if not a better job.
Thanks, Al. Also, Kat's question for you or Jasmine, what have you found most challenging during your time on the board?
One of the things that I'm really proud of that I have learned on the board is how to read and engage in a budgeting process. The district's budget, we bring in, millions of dollars in taxpayer funds every year. And it was a process that I had not engaged with before, reading profit and loss statements, balance sheets and whatnot. And so I was really overwhelmed, my second month in as a district director, like diving into the budget process. And we just went through what I think my fourth one. And I feel so much more fluent in the process, and our staff was very helpful in helping me get there, and so were my other board members. But that was something that was new to me and a big challenge that I had to really level up on, and I really appreciate the opportunity that the district gave me to learn that process. So it's not just about, what you can offer, it's okay to come into this role hoping to learn something. So that's what I think has been a challenge that I really appreciated, having staff support and the rest of my colleagues support on.
Thanks. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm going through my first budget process myself. Al, did you want to chime in anything about that with the challenges? Oh, Heather, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some questions about like the process of running the election cycle and things like that. And I think, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a video on your website, Oregon Department of Ag, that gives people information about the campaign process and things like that.
Yes, we just did do a training. It's more about political advocacy and what directors, elected officials can and can't do.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But the folks that are interested should certainly check out our election website. There is a plethora of information and fact sheets, links to the Secretary of State's office and different statutes. And we do try to put things in as plain English as possible. So you can find that information there.
Thanks, Heather and Eric. I saw that Kelly chimed in about the putting money into the campaign. Someone was asking, Elisa was asking if folks raise money. Jasmine said she did not, but Kelly had something to add about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that question that candidates can spend money on a campaign, and there are cases in other districts where that has been the case to finance a campaign. So,
but spending above
I'll just add that in my experience working with all the districts, it's extremely rare for candidates to spend money on a campaign. It does happen, but extremely rare. But if you do spend money on a campaign, you do have to fill out additional forms, and that's vitally important. And those instructions are also on our website.
Can I add real quickly? Because this is a volunteer position, you get a highly reduced cost to submit your voters pamphlet. Submission was like $25. So that was all I spent when I ran.
Okay, great. Am I missing anything from the chat? Al?
One thing I just want to say before people start logging off is if you're filling out your forms and need to get them to the county clerks, don't wait too long to do that. I know here in Lane County, it takes a week or two. And of course, the longer you wait, the longer it takes them to do it. So make sure you get your forms in plenty of time to get them back, because you have to send them to Sandy. And so it's sort of a two-stage process. And we actually had a board member in our last election that didn't get her paperwork in on time. And so she had to run as a write-in candidate, which didn't matter in the end, but it can be frustrating. And if you're going to be in a race that's contested, if you don't get on the ballot, you probably aren't going to make it. So do not put this process off too long.
We are at 7, so I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but we do have staff from all of the SWCDs here, except for Upper Willamette, but we can pass on any questions. So all the dates are, everybody has their own website, but all the dates are on there. You cannot file until July 18th. So there's still plenty of time to decide whether you would like to and collect your signatures and such. But I'll stick around in case there's any final questions. But thanks everyone for coming, and we'll have all this up on the website soon.
Yeah, thanks, Eleanor.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone for participating.
Thank you,
Al. Thank you, Eleanor.
Eleanor, I can stick around for a few minutes too, just in case
Sure.
something comes up.
Looks like mostly everybody's gone except us staff and but not everybody. Does anybody who's still here want to ask anything? Bye.
That was pretty cool.
I was worried there for half a second.
Yeah, they might have also stepped away from their computer without would love to hear from other board members what they found challenging. I think Al would be the last one. Did you answer that about challenges?
No, I didn't, but
Okay.
Just learning all the I can't remember who it was now that mentioned learning all the financial forms and profit and loss statements and all the different ways that grants and contracts are working and all the different policies, both local and state. At first it's overwhelming, but if you keep working at it, you start picking up on things. And I really don't have a business background, and so a lot of this was new for me. But over the years, I feel like I've picked up a pretty fair amount, and it's fascinating stuff. But we laugh all the time because I can do calculus. I'm a scientist. To me, calculus is no big deal. But I look at these accounting sheets and it's like, holy cow, how do you make sense of all of this stuff? It is unbelievable how complicated it seems. And an accountant would probably say the exact opposite. But you do learn over time, and you start picking up on things, and it's patience. And that's why it's good that we have 4-year terms, because it takes about that long to really get your feet on the ground and feel like you're making a difference. And so, I think the paperwork is the biggest challenge.
Patience from Jasmine and paperwork from Al, and also math and budgeting from both of you. That makes sense to me. Okay, well, just wait a few seconds to see if any of our final people have any questions. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for putting this together.
50 people. 50 people showed up. So
absolutely amazing.